Does your company culture match your brand? That's what we're talking about today on CultureCast. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 20 of CultureCast. I am your host, Jay Lippman. Sorry if I sound a little funny this week. I'm getting over a pretty nasty cold, but I'm going to try and do my best to get through this episode. It's an episode I'm excited about because it kind of ties in two of my favorite things, company culture and branding and marketing. As you may or may not know, before I started my consulting business, I tried to start another business. This was about 3 years ago. I had just been passed up for a promotion and made the decision to break out on my own. After performing a careful inventory of my skills, I had decided to start a social media marketing company, which ended up becoming a full-service digital agency. After 3 years, I decided to call it quits on the agency, though I was still determined to build a business of my own. After this time taking a careful inventory of what I was truly passionate about rather than what I was good at, I decided to jump into the world of company culture and management consulting. Since starting this business, I've noticed that there are a lot of similarities between a company's culture and its brand. Well, there should be anyway. In fact, I've often referred to company culture as an internal brand. While technically these two things are separate, I've noticed that the most successful companies in the world make it a point to align the two in one consistent image. This week, we're going to look at some of the ways to make your internal brand match up with the image you portray to the public. Let's start off with an easy one. The easiest way to get your company culture in line with your brand is to have a consistent set of core values that define how the company operates both internally and in the face of the customer. While many businesses have a defined set of core values, there are far too many that only deploy them in dealings with customers, yet let them fall to the wayside when it comes to interacting with the internal employees that keep the company running. Let's look at one of my favorite companies to use as an example. Buffer, the company that built one of my main social media marketing tools, is well known for their transparency. Their source code is up on GitHub. When you sign up for a paid plan, they show you exactly where their money is going, and they have a blog that regularly updates the public on what's going on in the company. And that's just what the public sees. When interviewing Haley Griffiths from Buffer in an earlier episode of CultureCast, I learned that their transparency is part of what keeps their 100% remote team operating. All emails are shared, allowing them to quickly respond to customers. They have regular online meetings, so they're all on the same page. The list goes on. The point is their core value of transparency helps shape Buffer into one of my favorite companies to do business with. Now let's talk about getting feedback. There are plenty of companies out there that make it easy for their customers to provide feedback, express concerns, or ask questions. But does your company allow its employees to do the same? Getting feedback from employees is a great way to get your finger on the pulse of your company. In fact, part of my consulting process is to conduct an employee satisfaction survey. Getting feedback from both your customers and your staff will give you the clearest picture of how well your company is operating and how it can improve. Surveys are a great way to get this feedback, but it's not the only way. For smaller teams, you might want to think about simply having a meeting. Honestly, ask your staff for feedback and advice. Make sure that they know that what's said in that meeting won't come back to haunt them. If you can gain their trust, you stand a chance of walking away with some valuable insight. Okay, I've got one more for you, and it's a big one. This will require some business owners to make a pretty large mental shift, but if they can manage to do it, it will pay off big time. Offhand, I can't think of a company that doesn't at least try to put off an image of being customer-centric. After all, nobody wants to do business with a company that puts off an image of caring about the bottom line more than the people they do business with. What many companies don't understand is that in order to truly put the customer first, to really live up to that part of your brand, it has to start on the inside. I've said it time and time again, happy employees make happy customers. For your staff, To truly be customer-centric, the management needs to be employee-centric. Your company as a whole needs to make the shift from taking care of their customers to taking care of their people, both internal and external. This shift is by far the most important part of aligning your company culture with your brand. Why? Because putting people first is how you build a business that people want to work for. And after all, if you build a business that people want to work for, your people will bring you customers that last a lifetime. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I know it was a short episode, but it was an important one, so I hope you were paying attention. It means the world to me that you would take time out of your day to listen to what I have to say. No real update on the book this week. Like I said, I had a pretty nasty cold. I spent most of my book day sleeping and trying to get better. But I am working on it, and I'm still really excited about it. One more thing, I'm still looking for questions to answer as well as people to interview. If you have a question about company culture, management, or leadership, please use the hashtag CultureCast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you would like to be a guest on the show, please email me or hit me up on DM. Until next week, I'm Jay Lipman, and this is CultureCast. What's up, podcast listeners? Thank you again for tuning into this episode of CultureCast. Recording these episodes is one of the highlights of my week, and I'm trying to get it into as many hands as possible. I don't ask for much, but I'm going to ask you for something here. If you guys could give this a like or a rating on whatever platform you're listening to this on, it would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much, and I'll talk to you next week.